Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoble, and you're on the lifeboat. Sorry, I'm checking out this new setup. You people would not believe what this looks like. So, I do a lot of squinting. Damn it! In fact, if this is on, you'll at least catch a reflection of some of the setup in the glasses, because you see this. Look, I am set up now, people. I am set up. I've got a huge monitor to the right now that gives me the opportunity to check out comments. Granted, I got to look a little off to the side, but what I don't have to do is squint. So this is a pretty good setup. Good morning, Cherry Bakewell. Smitty, good to see you. Charlie Mullins, Annette. The other thing that's nice is this puppy is now kind of locked in place, so I can fart around and do what I have to do without things jumping all over the place. I got a really good setup. I got a much better setup now, people. Let's do this. Wow, I'm telling you what. All right, we are in the business. So we're going to go over the mailbag because boy, oh boy, did I get a bunch of mail yesterday, man. Where should we start? You know what? We'll start at the top. So, after last night's live feed, I got probably no less than 7 emails. I probably got 15 emails, but 7 of them were somewhat nasty. Some of them were somewhat nasty concerning the. At the very end of last night's live feed, there was a comment left, and it made a bunch of people super uncomfortable. And at first they reached out to me, and I reached out to the individual who left the comment. Here's the deal: if somebody comes on the channel and they leave a comment, and the comment is frightening, and it kind of leads you to believe that we might be in trouble with that individual, I will shut down the channel. I will do whatever I got to do to make sure that nothing happens to that individual. I have shut down a crap load of shows over the years. Mark Wages and I probably shut down 2 or 3 of them together. I know I've shut down a couple of them just by myself. I put the severity of one person far above the entire show, and it will always be that way. It will always be that way. But the letters said that, they didn't like the way I handled it. They thought I was being cold-hearted. And I know that cat really well, right? This is not somebody that wandered on the boat. This is somebody that I've known for a really long time. And this individual leaves comments at the end of every one of my videos that he watches. And the comments always say something along the lines of, might see you next year, might not. Maybe I'll be back in a few months. He also, for probably a year, referred to himself until people started asking me, does he really weigh 500 pounds? I said, no, he doesn't. Not at all. I don't know where that started. He has a sense of humor. And at the end of last night's show, I knew that what he was saying was not. And then what the reference I made, what I said was, hey, man, are you struggling, or is this you being you? And that really chapped people. I know this guy. I know what him being him is. You understand? I don't downplay anybody's anything. If that's what you think, then you probably just got here. But he and I go way back. In fact, he's a watch collector, as I am. And first of all, I sold him the Lifeboat watch. We had an official, I got, at one point, I think I had 1,100 watches, something like that in here. I'm down on inventory huge right now, but I still got probably 400 or 500. But out of all of those, there was only one. It was a really beautiful Zenith pocket watch with, it's just one of those things that when you see, you go, there's no way this thing is that old. Like, it's just pristine. And it's sterling silver, and it's just ridiculous. And he was like, I showed it to him, and he said he wanted to buy a pocket watch, and I showed him an entire array of pocket watches. I sent him pictures of them, and then I said, just for reference, right? Just for reference to show you the full size thing. Take a look at this one, but it's not for sale, right? That was the whole thing. And he says, I want that one. That was the first watch. He probably bought 3 or 4. So, and he's got a great eye. He's a very, very kind of an astute collector. His collection is ridiculous. He seems to always buy watches that are on the uptake. Really, kind of astute. He's probably building a retirement stuff that he's buying. The last watch that he bought is called a Glycine Airman, and it's got 24 hours on the dial of the watch. So there's no such thing as AM, PM on the watch. On the watch, it's just, you're going to see it all. It's like a military thing. And that's one of those watches that, within 2 weeks of him buying, the watch went up about 60% in value, something like that. Just caught fire. He does really well with what he buys and when he buys it. But I knew he was just being him last night. I never will downplay anybody that's having a struggle. If you hear me say something and you think, man, that's way too nonchalant, a response to what that individual said, then there's a really good chance I know that individual is not serious. I take everybody's stuff pretty seriously. So then that was one of the things I got a bunch. Look at that. Speak of the devil. And that might even be, I think the avatar is that. Yeah, see that? He's rubbing it in. That avatar is my previous Zenith watch. What a beautiful watch. What a beautiful watch. Why, thank you, Lene. That's a lovely thing to say. So last night, after the lifeboat started to sink in that I have a 2-week vacation coming up. I can't begin to tell you how fired up I am about this, people, which is why today's show was called We Made It, right? This is Friday. This is this vacation. Truly, I didn't know when I planned this vacation, I didn't even know what state I was going to be living in at the time, right? Didn't even really know where I was going to be living. It very easily could have been in the previous state. What didn't matter is I was taking a vacation, and it was going to be on the first week of September. I've been planning this now for, my gosh, I don't know how long I've been planning it. Maybe 6 months, probably right around the half a year, I would say is a pretty good guess. And yeah, I'm really excited. Now the Danny Masterson sentencing popping up in the middle of it kind of changed some of what I was going to do, but it's cool. My daughter's in LA, so it's going to end up being a pretty good setup all the way around. Pretty fired up about it. You know what's crazy is I can now see the emojis on most of you, and I had no idea what any of these emojis were when I was looking on the small screen. I had no idea. Virginia, honestly, I had no idea what your emojis were. Dennis N. Annette, all these people, you should see this setup now. I am almost, I mean, I don't want to get crazy, but I'm almost set up like a YouTuber, like for real. This is almost the YouTuber setup. Yeah, not most assuredly is that Zenith watch. Kelly C, good to see you. You're going on vacation, but it's back to work for me, school teacher. A great summer. Well, we will always be here. That's the great news. And it's been great getting to know you too. We're glad you're here. Smitty, good to see you, man. Really good to see you. Rick Smith. There's Quiet Girl. Man, what a setup, people. Sorry, I know I'm absolutely blown away at just how easy it is to read everything. Good Lord. Hey, Joe, what's going on, my man? Seventh. Good to see you, seventh. Yeah. What a setup. So the story. This is the other batch of the other batch of emails that I got were concerning the the wahooing of the police car, and you know, it was funny because Mama Scoville was actually watching last night's Lifeboat, and she was watching it with a couple of other relatives of mine, and yeah, this is just one of those things. I've got some stories from my youth that are funny to listen to now, and they're really funny to listen to in large part because of the fact that I got out. I don't live that life anymore, and that's one of the things that probably makes it far more palatable, right? Because I mean, if you're hearing these things and the person is still kind of trapped in there, then it's almost like reading A Catcher in the Rye, right? The first time you read it, it's funny as hell because it's just the hijinks of a young kid. But as you read it, getting older, you realize that it's not quite as funny as it used to be. And the older you get, the more rugged that book gets. But some of the stories, right? Some of the stories are some of the stories are a little bit rugged. But I've had requests since last night's. Actually, I think it might have been the night before when I started with doing this with my brother Johnny. But there has been a ridiculous number of requests for stories, and one of the emails said, as long as you've been on, chances are you've probably told every story. I haven't told. I mean, I really have just not told you guys a whole hell of a lot about or stories from the youth, because they are just all. I mean, there was a period of time, to be sure, where not only myself but me and my brother almost lived like we were trying to outdo each other with the stupidity that we could do with the partying that we did and everything else. And there was I think if anybody that came over from Chase the Heat knows, my brother slept in a coffin. My brother slept in a coffin his entire freshman year in college, right? Or maybe it was his sophomore year. I take that back. It was his sophomore year, because his freshman year, he joined the fraternity. And in his sophomore year, he moved into the fraternity house. And no bed. He slept in a coffin that he had bought at a yard sale in our hometown. I mean, it didn't look like it was used or anything. It was a beautiful coffin, but somebody had it out at a yard sale, and he bought it, brought it to school, and slept in it. So there was always these just kind of stupid stories that we seemed to try to be outdoing one another. So by the time I got to college, 4 years after Johnny, I felt like there was the bar had been set kind of high for just being an idiot. You know what I mean? Like Johnny Scoville set the bar kind of high for being an idiot. But I did shatter most of his records, which is even more sad. Great example. And I think I've talked about this on the boat before, but I'll give you the whole breakdown. The alcohol abuse dorm that they moved, that I was living in at school, I didn't get busted for anything to get sent to that dorm. I accidentally wandered into that dorm by accident one day, and it was right after a night class, and I could hear noise upstairs because there are offices and classrooms in that same building. So I started to wander up, and it's one of those stairs that you walk up. So as I was coming around the corner and coming up over the top, that's where you get to the last landing, and the doors jammed open. So As my eyes rise above and I'm looking right at the floor level, a guy comes sliding by on his chest, right? No shirt on, just a pair of boxer shorts, and he's on his chest on the floor, and he goes by at a pretty good clip, like zip. This dude goes flip. I was like, what the hell was that? And by the time I got to the top of the landing, another gentleman went zipping on behind him. These gentlemen at the alcohol abuse dorm, because it makes a lot of sense to take everybody that got trouble for drinking and stick them in one place, right? What could go wrong? Everybody got in there and started to. These guys were buying pony kegs and things like that. And at the end of the day, when the beer got nasty or was running out, they would literally just dump the stuff on the floor and do these beer slides. It was one of the most disgusting things you've ever seen in your life. And it was just so freshman year in college that I saw it and thought, this is where I want to be. The dorm I was at, like I put on Comfortably Numb. I was listening to Pink Floyd. Now, I'll never forget this. I went over to the stereo and I turned it up, right? This one goes to 11. Hey, squirrel. I turned the volume in this thing up to 4. Are you hearing me? 4. Apparently, I got into a study dorm, not because I requested a freaking study dorm, I assure you, but somehow the dorm that we got moved into first was a study dorm, and that just didn't work because they had noise. They had noise rules and all of these things. So this guy comes walking in and he's like, hey, man, you need to turn that stereo down. And I'm like, are you being funny? Like, why would I have to turn this down? It's not turned up. He's like, well, I can hear it on the other side of the door. And man, I walked outside with him and shut the door. I'm like, oh man, you got to try to hear it. It's not like, and he said, yeah, you got to, it can't be above a 4. It can't be above a 4. And I said, man, okay. And I kind of turned it down. And then I remember shortly thereafter, I had a roommate, and I don't care because my roommate was one of the coolest people in the world. And if he ever finds this show, he's not going to be bummed out that I said his name. But I had a roommate named Angelo, and Angelo was a very, very cool dude. He was my roommate freshman year, first semester freshman year. He took off. I mean, he partied himself out of business in one semester. Like he was a absolute animal. He truly was. But he comes walking in and he's like, goes to turn the music up. I'm like, hey, you can't do that. Right? The RA, the resident assistant, is a Nazi. Like, you can't put the music up. He's like, I can't put louder than this. I said, no, man, that's it. Like, that's as loud as you can put it. And he's like, oh man, that's not going to work. I was like, you're right. It's not. And then he goes, he smoked pot. He didn't roll a joint. He didn't do anything that created a whole lot of smoke. In fact, he had one of those little like pinch bats, the little things that you have in a wooden box. And you open the top of it. It's got a little metal, like one hitter, and you just sort of pack the end of it, like the end of a cigarette kind of a thing. And you just, it doesn't generate any smoke, right? We were being very careful with the whole smoke thing. And within a matter of minutes, this dude comes, the RA comes walking in again, like he's a dope sniffing dog, and called us on it. And, freshman year in college, you'd like to turn on the music and maybe smoke a little pot. I mean, that was kind of the entire goal of me going to school at that point, right? That was my thing. So after seeing these guys, I walked up and hung out with them for about an hour and did some drinking. And like, this looked like what I thought college was going to look like. There was a bunch of drunk people and they were doing beer funnels, and they had like a 6-foot bong that was going in the lounge, like outside in the hallway. Like nobody cared. And I thought, well, this is much more like it. And introduced myself to a few guys, and I said, hey man, how do I get over here? How can I move into this? And he goes, man, you want to move over here? He's like, there's no carpet. I said, yeah, I know. And he's like, and there's no cable TV. The only place that had cable was the lounge. We didn't have it in any of our rooms. And the room that I was living in at the time had carpet, and it was actually a really beautiful room. It's just that it didn't remind me anything of college or what I thought college was going to be like. So the next day I went down and I requested to move into to that dorm. And the assistant dean of students, the guy that handled that, his last name was Smith. And he looked at me and went, in the entire time I've been doing this, I've never had anybody request to move into that dorm. He said, I get a lot of requests from people that want to get out. They say they've made one mistake and they haven't done anything in 4 months and this and that. He said, nobody wants to move in there. I said, I do. He said, well, I shouldn't have any problem finding someone that will take your room. So I moved in to the alcohol abuse dorm, which was probably not a great setup. That was the dorm that I was talking to you about last night when I referred to climbing out the window to go steal that police car. That was the room that I was living in at the time. And no joke, right? You talk about just stupidity, people, but the outside of this is an office building. They just took the third floor of this administration building and turned it into a dorm floor for bad students, right? And there was probably 60 kids on that floor, like 30 rooms, and a great group of guys, but pretty much the hardest partiers on campus. And the outside of the building, because it was an office building and it wasn't a dorm, the outside of the building had like a little metal thing that went all the way around. It was just a decoration. It was one here, and then there was one directly below the window. So it's just like a 2-inch tall stainless steel looking decoration above and below the windows. And the windows are, offices there every couple of feet. The windows are sliders. You slide them back and forth, and you can literally pick them up and take them out of the window frame. So you just got, and you clean them and then put them back up in. They would just come in and out. And, you couldn't lock them. It was impossible to. And one day, my roommate took off and was spending a weekend in a different town with a girl that he was dating. And I had no way to get into my own room. And this was a kind of a bad situation. I was going to have 3 or 4 days of not being able to get into this damn room. So I went out the window and I slid down until I got to my room, and I slid the window open and I climbed in. And, people kind of freaked out because we were a good clip off the ground. I mean, if you dropped, you'd be in deep crap. It was probably 40 feet. We weren't thousands of feet up, but it was a good drop. You would not want to fall. But I got to a point where I could go in and out of any room, and I could get there really quickly. Like, I got really good at just sort of Spider-Manning down this thing to sort of sneak in and out of rooms. And we would go into rooms that had professors' stuff in it, look for tests, and we did a lot of really stupid things. But the pinnacle of stupid things that I did my freshman year of college was we had a soda machine in our room, and it was the kind of soda machine that sold ponies, like 7 or 8 ounce beers, right? The little small ones, or sodas. We put beers in them. We put Rolling Rock ponies, the little 8 ounce Rolling Rocks, and they would sit on the side, right? And you would put the change in and pull out one beer. And we kept it stocked at all times. And guys would just come in and put a little change in and pull out a beer. But because we had this machine, there were people coming in and out all day long. It wasn't conducive to getting good grades, but we made a lot of dough, and that kept us partying. And one day, somebody brought over an inflatable palm tree, right? You've probably seen these, but they were kind of the rage in the 80s. But the base, which is round, was filled with sand, right? And so it's good and heavy. And then you blew this thing up, and they came in a bunch of different colors. This particular palm tree happened to be pink. But so you blow it up, and it's like 6 or 7 feet tall, right? Kind of a cool little thing for a freshman dorm room. And it was a bright and sunny day, and we were sitting in chairs, and we had removed the windows from their little, so we just have a big open hole in the wall now. And we're sitting there, and, the sun's coming in, and we're kind of reclining, and you know how you get those things that reflect the sun back up on you? Like, it was that kind of a setup. And we're, just sitting there, and a friend came in and said, "You guys look like you're on a beach." And I swear to you, I looked at my roommate, and without uttering a word, we knew we were going to fill the vast majority of that dorm room with sand. And this is what we did. Um, the original plan was we were going to take some wood, right, and we were going to build up so that there was a wall to keep the sand in, right? You understand this idea? So we were going with like 2x10s. They're like 2 inches wide and they're like 10 inches tall. Well, we took a series of those and built them up. I think there was 3, and then we proceeded to bring in like those bags of sand that you can buy at hardware stores. I don't know what they weigh, 20 pounds, 25 pounds, something like that. They're about that big. Well, we started bringing those puppies up, and I don't want to say that we took these things from a hardware store without purchasing them, but we did. And we took a lot of them. So we had piled up the trunk of a Tempest, which was the car my friend had at the time. Looked exactly like a GTO, but it was so damn slow it couldn't get out of its own way. And I mean, it had the perfect body, the GTO body style, like the great classic goat, except it had an inline 6 that I think put out about 26 horsepower. Not a very fast car at all. And we had so much sand in the trunk of this bad thing on more than one occasion, by the way, because we had to go back and forth and back and forth. But we would have so much sand piled up in this trunk that if you went over a bump or you did anything, the bottom of the car would literally scrape on the ground. Like you could see sparks flying. Anyway, we proceeded to run up and down the stairs with this stuff. And this was the end of the first semester, because somebody fell out of a window at the beginning of the second semester from our floor, and fortunately did not die. But from that point on, they were making sure that anyone that came in and out of the building wasn't carrying beer or anything like that. So they set up an employee whose job it was to sit at the bottom of the of the stairwell, so that when we popped out, we had to sign in and out of the dorm as a way to find out who was doing what or whatever. But by the time they had installed this, we were running up and down the stairs. I mean, literally 20 guys. 2 bags of sand. Grabbing it and running. And yeah, we made a beach. And it was beautiful. Like that. The sand that you buy, that you put on top of like fake grass. It's just this white, really soft, incredible sand. Then we got a couple of beach chairs, the kinds that you can fold the back up, right? They're just made of metal with the little, and we set this baby up. And in the middle of it, we had our soda machine. So we had our soda machine on the beach with our. You want to clean your tail? With the inflatable palm tree. Suffice to say, it was a pretty popular place to hang out. Sadly, we didn't get our deposit back. Let's put it that way. We did not get our deposit back. What we were supposed to do, and we had plans to do this, by the way. We really had plans to do this. We were going to empty this out. And the plan was to just remove the windows and then go at it with a couple of shovels, right? If you got 2 or 3 guys to do it, it would be over like that. And truth be told, we left the soda machine in there too when we ran. And that soda machine, which we stole from the porch of a old antique store, like in the middle of the woods in New England, and they had it on the front stairs, and it was chained. And we went and looked at it, and they wanted a lot of money for it by our standards at that time. So my friends went out and snapped the lock and brought that thing home. But that was probably the dumbest thing that I ever did in the dorms, to be sure. But, and I'll give you a big caveat on this one. And the caveat is this. Where I went to school was a very short drive to the Canadian border. And that meant that we could go across the Canadian border, where now we were legal, because 18 was the drinking age in in Canada. And we were driving into we were closest, the big city that we were closest to was Montreal, and I could get there in a couple of hours. Like, it was not a long trip. So we made that trip a lot. I mean, a lot. And some of the things that we did in that country, the fact that Canada will never let me back into its country, I feel bad. Yeah, honestly, it's a bummer when you can't get into some countries and you feel like, it's not fair. Well, why does Australia want to keep me out of their country? I didn't do anything really, really bad. I certainly didn't do anything to piss them off, but I was pretty tough on Canada, for real. We were tough on Canada. We used to go across the border and stay at a place called Hotel Pierre. If we got any Canadians, I would stay at a place called Hotel Pierre, and that would be either right on or right off St. Catherine Street in Montreal. If you know St. Catherine Street, it is it's Sodom and Gomorrah, right? It is the nasty. It's a rough area, and I don't mean like crime rough. I just mean that the businesses all cater to animals coming across the border. One of the largest strip clubs in the world, Club Super Sex, is on St. Catherine Street, or it used to be. I haven't been there in a long time. But we used to stay at the Hotel Pierre. And the way we would pay Pierre is we would get cartons of smokes. And cartons of smokes back then, I think, I don't remember what we were paying, $16, something like that. They were not a lot of money, right? But American tobacco is a very, very expensive thing once it gets across the Canadian border because of the import taxes that they put on it. Back then, it was like $7 or $8 a pack. It was pretty ridiculous up there. So we would put a bunch of them in the trunk and drive across the border. And sometimes they will look at you going into Canada. It's rare, but sometimes they'd want to look over your car. But we never got caught with it. But Hotel Pierre had, at about 5 different places inside this hotel, they had a huge ceramic clown, right? I mean, like life-size. So they've got these creepy life-size ceramic clowns everywhere you look. And we would get we'd get a good buzz on. And, I have been in that hotel on almost every drug that you could think of. And I remember going in there on fungus. We had done the psychedelics, and I remember walking in and looking at those damn clowns. And I'll be really honest with you, under the best of circumstances, I'm not really a clown guy. You know what I mean? I'm not. Like, clowns freak me out. And I don't mean, it's not like I lay in bed at night and think, oh no, a clown's going to come get me. But when I look at clowns, like, there's no happy childhood. Oh, cool. Look, it's a clown. I just go, oh God, that's creepy. You know what I mean? Like, I would never hire a clown and bring him to my, to a kid's birthday party or whatever. Like, clowns are creepy, man. They're full on creepy. And if they weren't, John Wayne Gacy didn't do them any real good for their reputation either. Leisure. Good to see you, man. Nice to see you, Leisure. Scrapple. Could somebody explain to me this scrapple concept? I have accepted I will end up needing false teeth. Hey, you know what? It could be a lot worse than that, my friend. It could be a lot worse than that. It's funny. I guess I have a different perspective on the denture thing, and it's probably because I spent a decent amount of time incarcerated. Hold on a second. Scrapple. I still haven't. I just wanted to make sure I didn't say it. Yeah. See, they think of John Wayne Gacy also. I'm not sure what Scrapple is still. Uh, Scrapple is good with pancakes. Oh, wait a sec. There we go. Oh, I got you. Zenwin says, no thank you to the clowns, especially not while under the influence, right? It's a drink, Captain. Oh, it's a drink. Now, fake teeth. This is the deal on that. When I was in prison, the dentists, they're not going to fill any cavities for you. Now, maybe at the white collar prisons or whatever, but at the higher custody levels, if you go in and say, this tooth is bothering me, they pull it. And I'm not being funny. Like anybody that's done any Fed time will back me up on this. They're not filling teeth. They're pulling them, and they'll pull them quick as hell. And when you go in with the worst toothache you can possibly imagine. And the reason you got a terrible toothache is there's a good sized hole in it, right? And the nerve is exposed and all that. You go and you say, hey, man, can you do something about this? And what they would say is, we don't fill cavities here. And that tooth can be saved, right? That's what they'll tell you. That tooth can be saved. So you want me to live with an open hole in this thing for the next 3 years, right? That's what you want me to do for the next 3 years. I'm just going to live with that. Go ahead and pull it, right? Get that thing out of there. And you're just happy as hell to have it gone. But for that reason, guys end up losing a lot of teeth. And they obviously want dentures. If they're in there and they're trying to eat prison food without them, that's a rugged experience. So what would happen is you would get on a waiting list, and that waiting list could be for years in some cases, right? A long time. But when your number comes up, it was always so cool because you'd see these guys take off in the morning, and usually they're not telling you what's up. They've literally been waiting years on this. And all of a sudden they come back and they've got the, hey, Kool-Aid smile, right? The Kool-Aid smile. You know what I'm talking about? Got it bust through the wall, like that kind of smile. They come back and they just have this, this full mouthful of teeth and just look amazing. And it was always such a big deal in there that I never viewed it as a bad thing. I always kind of viewed it as a great thing because it was such a hookup to everybody I saw that got them. So much better than what they were going through. And they've just gotten so much better with them over the years that it's really hard to tell. I had there was a guy that I was really close friends with in prison for probably about a year and a half. Like we kicked it nonstop. And when his cellmate went home, we put in a request that I could move into his cell because we got along a lot better than I did with anyone else in the unit. And at that point, I was still an idiot. And this guy had no problem cooking wine in the cell, which I was really a big fan of, not to drink, but to sell. I made a lot of it. And he was, he was all about it, so it kind of worked out. But we got in there and it was the first night and I'm talking to him and pulled his grill out, started getting ready to clean it. I went, dude, I'm like, those aren't real teeth. And he's like, no. I said, man, I had no idea, dude. I had no idea. I don't think anybody in the prison did. Leisure says, I once used an apple as a weed pipe. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. That was a go-to for me as a kid, right? The tin can and the apple. If all I needed I didn't need to try to bring weed. To bring paraphernalia wherever I was going. All I needed to worry about was, bringing the weed. And with an apple or a tin can, you were always set. And I knew I could always find an apple or a tin can. Rat says seagull rock squawk. Now, round and round. Wouldn't that be two T's if it was that rat? Or are we just saying rat for? Is this a game we're playing? Is it? No. Prairie dog. Did kids steal my garden hose for a pipe? Could have happened. Could have happened. Hold on. Good for you, Cemetery. He says, I still have my teeth and hair so far. But if he tells you he's 500 pounds, don't believe him. Oh, there you go. Rats. I got you. That kind of rats. You know the good news, Siegel. These are always here. You can always go back and visit them. And let me do this. Let me do this as a public service freaking announcement to everybody here. There is a misconception that once the live chat is over, you can never go back and get it. And I'm always compared to other channels where they say on that channel, it's instant. I don't know if that's the truth. I don't. But I know that on my channel, there's nothing I can do to get it any faster than waiting 24 hours. So tomorrow morning, when I fire up the next lifeboat, the next morning boat, this one will now be loaded up so that you can go back and read the live chat. Now, the way you do that is you click the button that says live chat. When you do, you're going to see something that pops up on the screen, and it is going to say something along the lines of the live chat has moved, right? When it says that, go to where you would write a comment and click on it. And then the live chat is going to pop right back up, right? There you go. That's how it works. No real need to make a pipe today. No, you know what, Annette? I'm kind of done with the whole pipe thing. I can't begin to tell you the amount of paraphernalia that I ended up throwing out once I got out, and I had a stash of things that they never got. It's just a cardboard box full of different paraphernalia and things that had been taped up. And yeah, I ripped the top open. I looked at what was in there. I sealed the top back up, taped it, and took that stuff to the dump. And boy, if anybody ever came across, there's a lot of glass in there too, a lot. Or they cut a section of hose for nicking gas. I want to tell you something, Scummy. Done a lot of that. The old Wahoo, and that's in when I was in high school, that was referred to as Wahooing gas. I always used a tin can as a weed pipe. I'd use it as a tobacco pipe too when I didn't get when I had papers to roll. Used to scrounge cigarette butts I'd find on the ground on my late night walking adventures. Hey, been there, done that. I'll tell you what, been there, done that. I remember at the height of my heroin addiction, I would not buy cigarettes. If there was any other way I could get cigarettes, I would not buy them. It shows comments for only for after show, no live feed. This is personal stuff here sometimes. The after, well, yeah, what it is in that, you can always go back and see this, but you have to know what you're doing in order to go back and see this, and most people don't. Hi. First time here for a live. I found you from a tremendous interview elsewhere. Wow, where could that have been? I do so many. Let's see. Interview elsewhere. I love your honesty and stories. Keep doing your work, sir. Thank you very much. No, sir, though. I blew the shocks out of my Chevy S10. I'm so big. Yeah. He required to get an S10 because that was the only thing he could fit in. Listen to him. He'll tell you. Took one of my grandfather's pipes. Tasted like Sir Walter Raleigh tobacco. Yucky. That was a phenomenon that I think happened to a lot of people in their youth. Somewhere along the way, somebody grabbed a dad or a grandpa's pipe, where they bought one at a yard sale or whatever, and that is an unpleasant taste. And I have smoked a pipe. I tried to become a pipe smoker once. I was married to my first wife, and I was trying to stop smoking pot at the time. And I was on probation. I was taking drug tests all the time. But I bought a bag of pipe tobacco and a pipe. And I thought that, going back and doing it, might have been might have done, helped me stay off. It didn't work out that way at all, oddly enough. Zen says, yes, if you go back to an older show, you can get the live chat feed on. You can. You just kind of have to know what you're doing. And I get emails all the time from people that say, you can't get it. It's gone. It's not gone. But you have to know what you're doing. When you click on it, it's going to say the chat's been moved. And that's when most people go, oh, okay, no more live chat. Just go into the box like you're going to type. Don't type. Don't type anything. Just go in there like you're going to, right? So, and then hit return, and that will take you there. Okay, now you got to go back to a show that's at least 24 hours old, right? So you could go back 2 or 3 shows, right? Because you might have to go back 4 shows. We did a bunch of shows yesterday. I always love the smell of cherry tobacco. Never smoked it. I think that's a lot of people really like the smell of pipe tobacco. It does have a really nice. It has a nice scent. The ritual. Yeah, exactly. 7th. And I thought that the ritual thing would help me. I really did. It didn't, it didn't. And what was sad was if that hadn't happened, that was really one of the things that kind of propelled me down the wrong road, because when I was taking the drug test for probation, when that started, I was a pot smoker. I mean, that's really what I did. I was a pot smoker, and that was a non-issue. Really, in life, it was a non-issue. It wasn't doing anything to mess my life up. I smoked a lot of it, but it wasn't really doing anything to mess up my life. And I got injured, and I found out that they couldn't do anything about me eating pain meds, right? They couldn't do anything about it. And as it was, I had a lot of them laying around, right? Because so many times I had been injured and put them up and been, I never thought of them really as that kind of a thing. Because every time I took them, I had been in pain, right? Plenty of it. I never took pain meds as a kid unless, I broke something or really hurt something. I tuned in for this morning and going from yesterday and didn't get any alerts. You know what? Look, that was not unique to here. Everybody I talked to, every content creator is saying the same thing, that first of all, they don't send out notifications. They'll only do it twice a day. So if you're doing more than 2 videos a day, they're not going to send out notifications. Now, that said, we're going to be here at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m., right? You don't have to worry about those, right? You probably don't need a notification for those. If you've been on the boat for any length of time, you probably have a pretty good idea that that's what we do. Hold on a second. Told all my POs I would keep smoking versus pills. You know what, Rachel? It would be, and now you could probably get away with that. You know what I mean? I think now you would probably get POs that would deal with that because, last night, there's a good one. It's probably late in the show to introduce this, but the Drug Enforcement Agency, in a very surprising and unusual development, yesterday, they announced that they're recommending cannabis be put on Schedule 3 and no longer be kept as a Schedule 1. And whether or not you are a fan of weed, it never should have been a Schedule 1 drug, right? I mean, you understand the concepts of the scheduling, right? The Schedule 1. Cemetery, have a good day. Stay safe. Please. Woohoo. Class it down. Hold on one second. Yeah. So whether or not you're a big fan of cannabis or not, you have to admit that um, it's Schedule One means that to hit that criteria, it has to be habit forming, right? You have to be able to get physically dependent on it. That's one of the criteria is that you can get addicted to it. The second criteria for Schedule One is that you can overdose on it. Good for you, Annette. Good for you. That's awesome, man. That really is. That is awesome. I love it. I love it. Ian says, my last roommate died and he was a habitual pot smoker. Um, I don't, it wasn't weed that got him. How did that happen, Ian? Yes, they have eased up at the probation office. My ex got caught and he said to her, hell, everyone is doing it. And that worked. Wow. Yeah, I guess parts of the country. I've heard that in California, it's just considered a non-issue. Like they don't even they're not even going to talk about it. I will be using weed for my anxiety. I don't like to do anti-anxiety meds, so I'm out here flapping in the breeze with it. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Valerie. As soon as I have cashola steady. Okay. And if you know what, if you live in a place where they have dispensaries, I would imagine um, the price is not what it used to be. I have a friend who is I wouldn't call him a big pot smoker, but he smokes pot. And he uses it just like that. He uses it kind of as an anti-anxiety thing, and it seems to work very well for him. He's doing it. It wouldn't work for me, but it's working very well for him, and I think that's awesome. But he told me, now they you can buy a pen. You know what I mean, like the little round pens, and it's got the stuff in it. And he says he buys one a week. He goes through one of those a week. So I don't know what one of those costs, but it can't be a lot. $30, $20, something like that. Your son's friend got caught with 2 kilograms of weed and got a ticket. Wow. And that says, stick to the indica. The sativa will make you anxious. And you know what? I've heard a lot of people say that. Yes, it's literally a few miles from my house. $30. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I knew what you meant in that sativa. Hello, Spanx. That's a handsome kid right there. I got a big enough screen, Calhoun, where I can actually now see that. I can now actually see your avatar. That's really funny. Bach Buddy says weed helps a lot with my joint pain, lifelong rheumatic arthritis. Has always had an opposite effect on me. I get energy to get projects done. Kills appetite. Boy, it does act opposite on you. If you get the anti-munchies, wow, never heard of that. He's just getting up over here. Okay, good. Get up. Valerie says, Cherry, I get that. Let's see what Cherry said. I have just come off anxiety meds now, and my anxiety is much better. Good for you, Cherry. You know what? Good for you. However, everybody listen up. Don't ever do that without talking to a doctor first, please. It's really good advice. It really is good advice. I promise you. Yeah, he does look like his mom. We got lucky on that one, to be sure. We got lucky on that one. Yeah, I always hear people describe the sativa as being more in your head, right? More up here, and the indica is more of the kind of the holistic, whole body buzz, type of a thing. I don't know. That's what I hear. I'm not an authority. I used to be. I smoked it for a long, long, long time, and I grew it, and I sold it, and I transported it, and smuggled it. Like I did a lot with weed for a lot of years before I quit. But after I quit, I quit. Like I never. Then I smoked in college. I mean, in prison rather. On Christmas Day, I think I've told the story in here. I smoked wax on Christmas Day with a friend of mine, and it was horrendous. This was such a bummer. I cannot even explain it to you. It was a bad time. It was a bad time. I got paranoid. Everything that could ever happen. Everything that could ever happen bad happened bad, for real. It was really awful. I'm very fond of indica purples strains. There you go. There you go. Wax. Yikes. Yeah, I traded it for something and ended up with a lot of it. And I went and traded that, like to sell it off. And I had a little chunk left over at the end, and I showed it to the kid that lived next door to me, who reminded me a lot of Spanx, actually. I spent a lot of time with the kid for that reason. But I said, "Here, man, you want this?" He goes, "Yeah, smoke it with me, man. It's Christmas." I'm like, "Oh no, I don't really smoke this stuff, man. I'm not into it." And he's like, "Oh no, he goes, "It's way stronger than weed." He said, "It's like a different drug. You'll like it." And he talked me into it, and it was friggin' miserable. It really was. I did not have a good time. It was a planned withdrawal. Good. Have a new prescribing nurse, and she is brilliant compared to the doctor who had me on meds for years. Well, that sounds like I've heard that many times before. For real. Brandon, 42 days. Well played, brother. Well played. Proud of you, man. I really am. I'm proud of you. I think I'll toss you a hug. I think I'll toss you a hug instead. F. Brandon. Oh, that. No, she's kidding. That's funny, though. The only reason it's Schedule 1 is because Hearst had his money in lumber. Well, that had a lot to do with it, but it wasn't the only reason. There was also had a lot to do with polyester, right? They were making tires out of polyester and out of a bunch of other things that they wanted to replace hemp. Hemp was the go-to textile for things like tires and things like that. And they wanted to push this brand new stuff called, these brand new synthetic fibers that they so badly wanted to push on the world. And they did. And now, instead of using, a very harmless plant, we crank out some really nasty chemicals to make polyester. Yeah, rope, polyester rope versus hemp rope. It honestly, the planet would have been in a much better shape if we had not invented polyester. And there's a lot of truth to that. Sativa is more euphoric. You can get inspiration and stuff done. Indica is more chill and watch movies or prison documentaries and get the heck scared out of you. I prefer indica. Okay, come here. This is a cat. And she does not want to be in a basket. But I'm at the top of the hour, people. What you doing, squirrel? You going in there to get something? Everybody see that cat in the basket? Look at this. She is really, really being a pip. Look at this. She's hanging out of the basket. But she is a cat, and she is in a basket. Have a great day, everybody. I will see you this evening. Prayers for Heather Joy, please. Atta girl, squirrel. Can you end that for me?